All right, everyone. Hello and welcome into Rookie Review, the 11-part series where we talk about all of the Minnesota Vikings draft picks from the 2021 NFL Draft. And today's selection that we're going to be profiling, I think, is the most anticipated episode of this series because we're going to be talking about Ihmir Smith-Marsette, the wide receiver out of Iowa, the 157th overall selection, who was picked in round 5 by the Vikings. And it's highly anticipated because I think for the better part of this offseason, and for a while, maybe even before that, we have been trying to solve the problem of who is going to be wide receiver 3 in this offense, right? Because we have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen at the top, no problems there, one of the best duos, arguably in the league. And then after that, I don't speak for everyone, but I feel the majority of Vikings fans keep bringing this issue up because we don't have very much confidence in another season of BC Johnson and Chad Beebe. Are they going to be there when we need them? Can we depend on them? Can either of them step up and go beyond the ceiling that they seem to have already shown us in terms of what they can produce in this offense? And it remains to be seen. So we're always looking for that next guy, right? We're like, hey, free agency is here. Let's get somebody. Let's get D.D. Westbrook. Or, you know, the NFL draft comes along and, you know, we're sitting there in round 3, round 4 with all these selections. We're like, hey, let's get a wide receiver. This might be the time. But the Vikings decided to wait until the 5th round to address the wide receiver position, and he was the only wide receiver selected in this draft, but I think he was more selected for kick return duties, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we begin the profile, I do want to briefly mention the history of Minnesota Vikings identifying wide receiver talent, and it has had some bumps in the roads, but overall, I think, especially recently, they've done a pretty good job. Not everything's going to be a home run. You're going to have some mistakes, but it's important to have more hits than misses, and I think that we've had that, and we've experienced it, because we had Stephon Diggs in the 6th round. That's a great pick. Adam Thielen, an undrafted free agent. It took him a while to break into the wide receiver role after he contributed on special teams. But, hey, we found another star player simply out of nowhere. I really liked Percy Harvin, Sidney Rice. Of course, you know, Justin Jefferson was a home run last year. And we have the Hall of Famer Randy Moss, who was picked in the 1st round in 1998 that everybody passed on. And there's, you know, of course, you know, the mistakes that we don't want to talk about, like Troy Williamson, which we're not going to do because that sucks. But anyway, I think that with the hype surrounding the situation of trying to find a wide receiver 3, I think Ihmir Smith-Marsette walks into a great opportunity to supplant some veterans, climb the depth chart, and get some serious playing time this year, not just as a special teams contributor. So let's talk about the profile. He measures in at 6 foot tall, 181 pounds. Those are official pro day measurements. True senior coming out of Iowa. In his early athletic career, he was a swimmer and water polo player. And I think that playing water polo really speaks to somebody's athletic ability because you are constantly treading water when you are playing that sport. And I've never done it myself. I am nowhere near that goddamn athletic. I played baseball in high school because baseball, you run 90 feet and you get to take a break. There is no constantly treading or running anything. So I think that really speaks to his athletic ability, being able to play that sport. Eventually, he does switch to football, also ran track, lettered in track as well. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school, the number 165 overall ranked cornerback in the 2017 recruiting class. Yes, he did play defense in high school, if you were wondering. The number 34 overall recruit out of the state of New Jersey. As far as scholarship offers, he was offered a scholarship through Boston College, Iowa, Minnesota, Rutgers, and Temple. So he got some Big Ten offers right out of the gate. He originally chose Rutgers because of the location. He's from New Jersey. So he picked Rutgers originally, and then he eventually switched to Iowa once he visited Iowa and made a good connection with someone on the coaching staff and changed his mind and flipped to Iowa a couple of days before the official signing day. One trivia note for Ihmir Smith-Marsette is that he is cousins with Queen Latifah. So we have a couple of Hollywood standouts in this NFL draft class for the Minnesota Vikings. We have one player whose father was an actor himself in Hollywood. You know him from the movie The Program. And then we have a direct lineage to Queen Latifah, which I think is pretty funny and amazing at the same time. So yeah, that's awesome. Just a little piece of trivia to sort of keep in the back of your mind when you go to the bar later this year and somebody asks that question. All right, so let's take a look at his statistical career in Iowa for 4 years. 2017, played as a true freshman, 18 receptions, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2018, 23 receptions, 361 yards, 3 touchdowns. He wins the Big Ten Specialist of the Year award, and he's also named second all Big Ten team as a kick returner. 2019, his workload continues to improve, and his stats continue to improve with 44 receptions, 722 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was an honorable mention All Big Ten recipient. He also had 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 kick return touchdowns that season. It was his final season playing with quarterback Nate Stanley, who is also on our roster, so we have a little bit of an Iowa pipeline getting built here. In 2020, the shortened season for the Big Ten that didn't even look like it was going to happen in the first place, breaking in a new quarterback, his stats take a little bit of a plunge, but I think that's okay to excuse because it was only an 8-game season, a little bit of a different offense for them this year with a new quarterback. He ends up with 25 receptions, 345 yards, 4 touchdowns, does once again win honorable mention for All Big Ten. In the final 2 seasons of his career for Iowa, 2019 and 2020, he leads the team in receiving yards. So I think that, just real quick to note, that I think that speaks volumes to what kind of offense Iowa had in 2020, just because 345 yards is the leading receiver. That tells you a little bit about how much they wanted to throw the ball. I think that offense ran through Goodson last year in the running game. Anyway, I could be wrong. Iowa fans, please, feel free to leave a comment and let me know just what this offense was after losing Nate Stanley, and just hell, who's your quarterback going to be this year? Anyway, thoughts and opinions about Ihmir Smith-Marsette coming in for the Minnesota Vikings as a 5th-round pick wide receiver out of Iowa. Obviously, he was drafted for kick return duties. Let's not gloss over the facts of why they got this kid as early as they did. Last year, in the previous draft, the 2020 NFL draft, they waited too long to get to address the position of kick and punt returns, special teams players. They opted for KJ Osborne out of Miami, I believe in the 6th or 7th round. I forget which one it was, but he was primarily a return specialist for the Hurricanes. They were hoping that he would be able to come in and duplicate that. He wasn't able to. Now I think KJ Osborne is going to struggle to make the roster with the addition of Kenny Nwangu and now Ihmir Smith-Marsette, both in this draft class. So KJ Osborne is going to have to break in on the actual wide receiver depth chart, and it remains to be seen if he can do that, especially if Ihmir Smith-Marsette is really, worth the hype, or not worth the hype, but true to the hype, if you will, if I could say it that way. He's got dynamic speed, absolute home run threat, 4.47 40 time. He's going to be one of those receivers that's not going to be a dynamic route runner. He's not going to be a Stephon Diggs where he can cut and make you look like a fool right on the line of scrimmage. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be running to the post. He's going to be one of those guys that's running corner routes where he's trying to burn past the defense. And you know what? I'm all for it. I think we could definitely use a guy like that takes the top off the defense, runs straight line routes. I don't care if he has a limited route tree. If we utilize him for what he's really good at, that's good enough for me. I don't think every wide receiver needs to be the same and do all the same things. We already have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, who are very consistent and very relatable and similar in their skill sets. So it's okay to have somebody different. I'm totally fine with that. He lined up inside and outside at Iowa, so that's just a little note that he is capable of being more than a one-trick pony in a pro-style offense. And overall, I think that he definitely has a chance to push and contend, as we have mentioned before on this channel, for the wide receiver 3 job. That is the thing that we are trying to solve, because we don't have the utmost confidence in guys like BC Johnson and Chad Beebe. We feel like we have seen their ceilings, and for a guy like Ihmir Smith-Marsette, who is fast, he's talented, he's good at what he does, I think he's definitely a candidate to break into the depth chart this year and ascend up higher than most of us think that he might be able to. So 2021 will be an interesting year for the Vikings special teams with the additions that they've made, the head coaching change that they have also made. Marwan Malouf is out and Fickens is now in, and they have some new talent that's going to be able to return kicks this year. Mike Hughes is also gone. He was one of those guys that they thought would be able to be a significant contributor to the return game. So overall, Ihmir Smith-Marsette, we're all excited about this guy, and I really hope he does pan out, so we'll see how it goes. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.